Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Krein, and today on Learn Prelude we are talking about the CEQI, or Customer Equipment Inquiry Screen. Now, the CEQI screen is used to show all serialized products for a customer, and we've either sold them to that customer or done a repair order on them for that customer. Now for each line, there's a couple things you can see. You can see any repair history, if there's some available, and you can also see the pricing and invoicing information for that ticket. At the very end of the video, I'll talk a little bit about CEQM. The maintenance screen for CEQI is CEQM, in case you need to add machines, change a customer, or change certain user fields like the location of the machine or their equipment code. All this and more is coming up today on Learn Prelude. All right, here I am in my Prelude system, and I am going to get to my CEQI, or Customer Equipment Inquiry screen, the easiest way I know how, which is using my / command. So I'm going to type / and then CEQI for Customer Equipment Inquiry, and then I'm going to hit enter. Now, the only thing that I have to type here is the customer number, or if I don't know the customer number off the top of my head, I can always type their name to search and then select them from a list. In this case, I do know my number. I'm going to be looking at the equipment for one of my customers at White Star Wichita today, Cornejo & Sons. And I know that their customer number is 051779. I'm going to type their number in and hit enter. And it's going to take just a minute for this list to look at everything that this customer owns. So I can look starting at the top, and over in the model number column, I'll notice that it's alphabetical A to Z. Technically, the numbers even come first. So it's actually the number 0 at the very top, all the way at the very bottom would be the letter Z, or in this case, the letter W, because they don't own any equipment with a model number starting with Z. So I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. So our model number column is the manufacturer's model number that's associated with this serialized product. So for example, the PTO pump that's in line 1 is model number 03H1-GR-N. So again, that's a number that's been assigned by the manufacturer, and we simply typed that in when we added that unit to the system. Now the description is something that describes it a little more, because if I were to see 03H1-GR-N, at first glance I might not know what that is. But a description of it is something that we assign to it that tells us a little bit more information about what that item is. Now the options column is more associated with things like power units. There are not a lot of options that come on these things at the top of the list, but if I scroll down and find some of our power units here, I see that we have some of the options that are already pre-filled. This is because on some units, customers may want certain options. Maybe they want cab heat and air. There are certain things that they may want to add to the package before they purchase that machine. So when we put that machine in the system, we added the options that it comes with to it so that we can narrow down our search. So the options column just tells you kind of any additional information that might be relevant for that unit. Now the serial number is the particular serial number that's assigned to that machine that was stamped on at the factory. So it's a serialized unit because our customer equipment inquiry only deals with serialized equipment. It doesn't deal with those things that might be a little bit smaller and non-serialized. Now some of those serial numbers can be really, really long. So we actually use in Prelude a number called an EIN, or Equipment Identification Number. It's a little bit shorter. It's usually around 7 digits, and it may start with 1 or 2. So our EIN is our particular Prelude number that we've assigned to it at Berry Companies. Something that's shorter to type than maybe the 15 or 20 digit serial number. Now the CE code I'll talk about in a little bit. It really is something that I can change in CEQM, and it stands for Customer Equipment Code. Maybe a customer has 5 S650-Ns, and they call them Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5. So when they call us, they say, I'm bringing Unit 3 in. This is a place for us to tag it as Unit 3 so we know exactly what serial number and EIN Unit 3 belongs to. We can change that in CEQM, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Now, the invoice date and invoice number column show us the original sales invoice where we charged this customer for this machine. So this is the original invoice that they purchased it on and what date it was purchased. And the last two columns I want to talk about that we use are the year-to-date and life-to-date service, which are the columns that are on the far right side. We don't use the SRV or the next date code at many of our locations. If you do use it at your location, it's something that schedules dates for repair, but most of our locations don't use it. Now, the year-to-date service and life-to-date service show approximately how much that customer has spent on this unit in our shop this year and over its lifetime. So if you're just wondering how much we've made off of this particular unit, those are the columns to check. So now that we've talked about everything that's really going on this main screen, I want to talk a little bit about the buttons at the bottom. The first button is the F5 serial history button. So with a unit selected over in the left model number column, I can hit F5 serial history and it will show me everything that's ever happened on this particular unit for this particular customer. Now, I see that we did a repair order for this unit on December 12th of 2007, and then we sold it right away to them. So not a very long history on this particular unit, but we can see everything that's happened. Now, what if I go down to another unit that's a little bit lower and I hit F5 serial history? Well, we've done a lot more to this unit than we did the one that we were just looking at. So I see that its original sales order was on 3/12 of 2012. And since then, it's been in the shop 4 or 5 times. So you can really start digging back into the history of a particular unit for a particular customer and see exactly what we've done to that machine over time, how many times it's been in our shop, and what our invoice total was every time it's been in. You can drill down using the buttons at the bottom by hitting Review to look into the order and F7 Shop to go in a little bit further. But there's one more thing I want to show you from the CEQI screen to view the repair history. Now, I was just looking at the repair history by digging through the F5 serial history and going deeper, but the F7 repair history shows me the same information in a little bit of a different way. So with that same unit selected, I'm going to click F7 repair history, and it's going to show me all of the shop repair orders that I've had that machine in, what the dates were for them, what the hours were on the machine as we recorded that, and how much the invoices were. So there's a couple of different ways to see the repair history for each one of these machines. One is going through the F5 button, the other is going through F7 at the bottom of that CEQI screen. It's just a matter of preference, how you want to see the information. Now the last button I want to talk about is the F6 invoice button at the bottom of the screen. Once I've selected a unit in the left-hand column, I can simply hit F6 invoice, and it's going to bring up the IDI or invoice detail inquiry screen about that original sale to the customer for that piece of equipment. Now I can see how much they paid for it, how they paid, who it was that took the order if we wrote it in the customer PO field, and if I want to even look deeper at that order, I can hit the F5 review order button on the IDI screen, and it'll show me a little bit more of a history detail inquiry for that order. So I can go to the completion screen, see how much they paid in taxes, or go to the header screen and see who wrote the original order up. So again, I'm going to back out of here. I got there through the CEQI screen by hitting F6 invoice. Now the last thing I want to talk about today is the CEQM screen. The CEQM screen is the maintenance screen behind CEQI. So if we want to change any of those fields, we can't in CEQI. It's simply an inquiry. If we want to change them, we have to use CEQM. Let me show you how it works. So I'm going to get there by using my slash command, so slash CEQM, and hit enter. Now this is where I would type my customer number in or just search using their name. I know that my customer for Cornejo is the one that's listed, 051779, so I'm going to leave it there and hit enter. Then I'm going to type my warehouse. I'm out of White Star, Wichita today. So I'm going to type 05 and hit enter. Now this looks a lot like the CEQI screen, but it's editable. So first, let's say that I want to add a machine for Cornejo & Sons. In order to do that, I'm going to grab my bar on the right hand side and drag all the way to the bottom. I'm going to click in the bottom line, and I'm simply going to push my down arrow to add a new line. Now I can go ahead and type the model number of the unit that they just purchased. So they purchased a 553-U, and it's worth mentioning they did not purchase this item from us. If they did, it would have been on a sales order or an SOE, and it would have already automatically been added to their CEQI. They had to purchase this unit from elsewhere, maybe from a different customer, and now we're just adding it manually to our system because it's not already here. So I'm adding it at the bottom as a 553-U. So I've added my model number, and when I hit enter, because this is a model that our system recognizes, it automatically puts in the description for that model number. It's a skid steer loader. So now it wants me to type a serial number. So I'm going to go ahead and just name it something so we can spot it easy. I'm going to call this Lisa Machine 12345, and I'm going to hit enter again. And now when I hit F2 to finish, if I go back into the CEQM for this customer, you're going to see that 553-U with serial number Lisa Machine 12345 has been added in the list. The next thing I want to talk about is the CE code and the location. Now, CE code stands for Customer Equipment Code, and location is where is this unit physically located. So let's say for Lisa Machine 12345, I want to add a CE code that's called Unit 2, and a location that tells me it's always going to be at our location that's at First and Main. So with the unit selected in the model number column, I'm going to click User Info in the top left-hand corner. And I can add my customer equipment code and my location right here. So my customer equipment code was going to be Unit 2, and my location, they told me, was always going to be at First and Main. So I'm going to add both of those, hit enter, and then F2 to save out of this screen. And you'll notice that it's updated the CE code and the location columns for that particular unit that I changed the user info on. It's a really great way to be able to put those customer annotations in if they're going to specify where that machine is located or what they want to call it. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to change the customer. Let's say that this particular unit, Lisa Machine 12345, was sold by Cornejo & Sons, which is my current customer that I'm looking at, to another one of our customers, Barron Concrete. Since they're both in the system, and since this unit is in the system, as soon as I want to change it, I simply come to CEQM for the old customer, so for the person that used to have it, I select it over in the left-hand column, and I click the F5 Change Customer button at the bottom. So I'm going to hit F5 here. Now it's already put the old customer in the customer number, and it's defaulted my cursor to New Customer. Now I could search for my new customer's name, or if I know their number, I can type it in, 048912. I know that that's the customer that I want to sell it to, so I'm going to leave it. I hit enter. Now I hit F2 save, and that machine is going to disappear off of my CEQM for Cornejo. So it's no longer in my list for Cornejo & Sons, but if I change my customer to Barron Concrete, and I hit enter, now as I scroll down, I will see that 553-U that has the serial number of Lisa Machine 12345, and it even carried over the CE code and the location. So if I wanted to take those out, I would simply click it, click User Info, erase that information because technically that information belonged to Cornejo & Sons and it might not apply to Barron in this case. I'm going to hit F2 save, and it's going to remove the CE code and the location from the machine that we brought over to Barron from Cornejo. I hope you learned a little bit about CEQI and CEQM today and how we look up equipment for our customers and change that equipment if needed. Thanks so much for tuning in to Learn Prelude, and have a great day.